Hello and welcome, live from Channels Television's global headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria. You're watching Newsroom series. I'm Dominic Iwiwa, and today our focus will be on the North Central. But before we get into that, let's have a snippet of our top stories making the rounds at the moment. A total of 258 adults and children have arrived in Nigeria from South Africa aboard an Air Peace flight as part of ongoing efforts to support the voluntary return of Nigerians from that country following the spate of xenophobic attacks. The returnees were received by the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Shola Enikan-Olaiya, and the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Dr. Bernard Dudoro, who assured them of government's commitment to their welfare and reintegration. Officials disclosed that a second batch of returnees are expected to arrive within the next month as authorities continue to facilitate the safe and orderly return of Nigerians willing to come home. We start off in Plateau State, where the state has launched a new peace-building initiative aimed at addressing the persistent cycle of communal violence and insecurity that has affected several communities across the state. The Rapid Response for Peace R2 for Peace project, implemented by Search for Common Ground in partnership with the Plateau State government, seeks to strengthen early warning systems, enhance rapid response mechanisms, and supports community-led efforts to prevent conflicts before they escalate into violence. The federal government has flagged off the Renewed Hope Farm Input Support Program for farmers in Nigeria's North Central Zone, marking a major step towards strengthening food security and boosting agricultural productivity. The initiative, implemented through the National Agricultural Development Fund (NADF), launched at the Trade Fair Complex in Minna, Niger State, will provide critical farm inputs to over 20,000 smallholder farmers across Niger, Benue, Nasarawa, and Kwara states ahead of the 2026 wet farming season.
Agriculture remains a critical pillar of Nigeria's economy, providing livelihoods for millions of Nigerians and serving as a major source of food production, employment, and economic growth. The federal government's efforts to build a food secure and economically resilient nation is being strengthened through the Farm Input Support Program in the North Central Zone.
We want to thank the President for supporting us, because this wouldn't have been possible without the presidential support. Secondly, we also want to thank our partners, the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, and also the National Agri-Development Fund, for this very wonderful initiative. Distribution is targeted directly at the real farmers, because a lot of data was gotten and treated and deciphered, and we know that the people that are taking these fertilizers are now very important farmers.
More than 80,000 bags of NPK fertilizers will be distributed to over 20,000 smallholders farmers across Niger, Benue, Nasarawa, and Kwara states through the National Agricultural Development Fund, which is designed to tackle access to quality and affordable farm inputs, one of the biggest challenges confronting farmers.
This is a targeted intervention. We are not just distributing fertilizer, but we have partnered with state governments in each state that we have gone, the state government, Ministry of Agriculture, and the All Farmers Association of Nigeria have come together with us to put the data. We're very respectful of the fact that we're a federal government agency. We don't have farms, nor do we have farmers. The subnationals, the state governments, are the ones that cater for farms and farmers. So we have gotten data from them together with an AFAN. And also, we are not just distributing to farmers randomly, but for each state, we have selected certain food crops, certain priority food security crops of natural endowment, those staples that grow in each state, that grow naturally. So for each state, there is a group of farmers that are cultivating that we have selected to benefit from this intervention. We also have different modules or different lines of monitoring and evaluation. That will now look at productivity from each farmer, that will now look at what comes back to the national basket from this intervention.
The intervention aligns with President Bola Tinubu's vision of transforming agriculture into a major driver of economic growth, job creation, and national development.
This intervention coming at this time is very, very, strategic, is very timely, and so you should expect bumper harvest this year by the special grace of God. And with bumper harvest, it means more food is available, and it will definitely be friendly to the pocket of our citizens. And that's what food security is all about: access, affordability, and availability.
As the planting season approaches, stakeholders say the real measure of success will not be the number of fertilizer bags distributed, but the harvests that help produce, bringing Nigeria closer to its goal of food sufficiency and economic prosperity.
The Plateau State government has launched the 2026 seasonal malaria chemo prevention campaign, targeting over 1 million children across the state with preventive malaria drugs through a house-to-house exercise. Intervention, which runs from June to October, is aimed at protecting children aged 3 to 59 months during the peak malaria transmission season. Our correspondent President Bank reports.
The flag-off ceremony in Jos, the Plateau State capital, brings together government officials, health workers, and development partners to strengthen malaria prevention efforts in the state.
Sit down. Thank you very much.
According to the state government, malaria prevalence in the state has dropped from 18.8% in 2021 to 2.8% in 2025.
Against malaria for children aged 3 to 9 months.
The wife of the Plateau State Governor, Mrs. Helen Mutfwang, considers the campaign as a major step in the fight against malaria.
Malaria remains one of the leading causes of illness and death among children under 5 years of age in Nigeria. Despite being preventable and treatable, it continues to place a heavy burden on families and communities. However, through the commitment of government, healthcare workers, communities, and our partners, significant progress is being made. I'm proud to note that Plateau State has recorded one of the most remarkable reductions in malaria prevalence in Nigeria. As the ambassador,
the state government is targeting over 1 million children in the house-to-house program, which is expected to reach every part of the state.
This seasonal malaria prophylaxis activity that normally we hold within the rainy season, because that is the peak of the malaria season. And because of the efforts of all of us that are here, together with those in the field, our health workers that have been trained at several different areas, we have been able to achieve very significant results.
The state government is partnering a malaria consortium in the implementation of the program.
Malaria prevention plans was to support Plateau with low sugar to increase routine immunization uptake through routine immunization messaging in local governments where routine immunization is low. To reach every Uli house to house, knocking at people's door, looking out to children that are eligible to take this particular medication. And of course, this medication is not to treat malaria, but to prevent the children from coming down with malaria.
The campaign is expected to further reduce malaria cases as health workers begin house-to-house distribution across the state. Percy Dabang, Channels Television News.
The executive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Ola Olukoyede, says findings by the anti-graft agency show that some governorship aspirants spend between 20 and 30 billion naira to secure electoral victory. The development, he says, fuels corruption and undermines democratic governance. Mr. Olukoyede disclosed this while delivering the inaugural high-level guest speakers series of the Center for Peace and Strategic Studies, University of Ilorin, themed de-risking and mobilizing critical stakeholders for peaceful and credible 2027 elections in Nigeria.
Win or lose, the race for any political seat in Nigeria is an expensive venture for aspirants and their parties. Aside from the purchase of expression of interest forms, nomination forms, and the battle for the party ticket, the campaigns come with promises of great reward for those who contribute to election victories. With reports of vote buying and election violence still a major problem, the Center for Peace and Strategic Studies, University of Ilorin, centered its inaugural high-level guest speakers forum on de-risking the electoral process. The guest speaker is the executive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Ola Olukoyede, who narrows the conversation to the cost of the governorship race. He raises concerns that the huge finances required to win elections, usually between 20 to 30 billion naira, creates pressure on public office holders to divert funds after assuming office.
We saw it to be something between 20 and 30 billion naira. Yes. And so if you spend that kind of money to get to an office, of course, everybody sees it as an investment. And that's why we are here to see what can we do to sanitize our electoral process and ensuring that the process is not contaminated. Because when the process is contaminated, you get contaminated leaders.
The Vice Chancellor of the University of Ilorin, Professor Wahab Egbewole, describes electoral corruption as a major threat to national security, noting that credible elections are essential to democratic stability and economic development.
Challenges such as electoral violence, misinformation, voter apathy, political intolerance, security concerns, and particularly the monetization of the process continue to pose risks to peaceful elections. Addressing these challenges requires proactive engagement, evidence-based policy recommendations, civic education, and sustained collaboration among all stakeholders.
His thoughts are echoed by the director of the Center for Peace and Strategic Studies, University of Ilorin, Professor Gbemisola Animashaun.
History has handed us a grim register. The post-election violence of 2011 claimed more than 800 lives. The 2015 elections, though commended internationally, were precedented by terror and threats of wars. The 2019 and 2023 cycles were marred by vote buying, manipulation, intimidation, hate speech, and exploitation of primordial sentiments. In every cycle, our fault lines are weaponized, and our diversity, which ought to be our greatest asset, is turned against us.
The consensus here is that the commercialization of votes weakens the foundation of good governance because it compromises the political recruitment process, and that leaders who buy their way into office are more likely to focus on recovering their investments rather than serving the public interest.
You're watching Newsroom series live on Channels Television. Right after this break, we'll bring you more stories making the rounds within the region. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Moving on, in a strong display of political solidarity and grassroots mobilization, women from across Benue State have thrown their weight behind Governor Hyacinth Alia's leadership. The gathering, which brought together supporters from the 23 local government areas, highlighted the administration's efforts in promoting women and expanding development across the state.
Women from the 23 local government areas of Benue State converge on Makurdi, the state capital, for a solidarity gathering tagged "Come Stand with Alia." In attendance are women leaders, political stakeholders, and supporters of the administration of Governor Hyacinth Alia. State chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Benjamin Omali, joins them alongside the governor's representative, the group managing director of the Benue Investment and Property Company, Raymond Asemakaha. He urges Benue residents to continue supporting Governor Hyacinth Alia's administration, noting that the governor's close work relationship with President Bola Tinubu positions the state to benefit from the renewed hope agenda.
Today, the inauguration is not just a mere inauguration of coordinators, it is a strengthening of the people driving movement that connects the governance directly to the grassroots. On behalf of the APC Benue State, I wish to express an appreciation to our dear President, the leader of our great national party, President Bola Tinubu, GCFR, for his good leadership vision and unwavering commitment in line with the renewed hope agenda, his demonstration and repositioning Nigerian economy, strengthening the democratic institutions, and expanding opportunity for Nigerians to continue to inspire confidence across the nation.
Governor Alia's representative thanks the women for their commitment and resilience in mobilizing ward coordinators across the state. He assures the group of the administration's readiness to partner with them in deepening grassroots engagement and bringing government closer to the people.
For us is to ensure that we bend and work with Vanna Alia as the patron. I will do my best to ensure that everyone has something. Everyone, as the coordinator, will be able to work with the team to have a desirable result for Fadalia 2027. This is a strategy, and we know that with you, Benue will be better.
Addressing the women, the leader of the group, Mary Berindia, commends Governor Alia for promoting women's participation in governance through appointments into key positions. She also announces the inauguration of a network of grassroots coordinators across the state's 23 local government areas to mobilize support for the governor's re-election bid.
This vision, it was driven by the transformative agenda of His Excellency, Reverend Father Hyacinth Yomimalia. That was what motivated me. So I'm calling on all the youth of Benue State to come together. That is the reason for the Vane Henelia. Vane Henelia in our language means everybody should come back to the governor because the governor is doing what we want.
While assuming office in May 2023, Governor Hyacinth Alia has appointed women into strategic positions in government, a move many observers say has helped bridge the gap in addressing women-related issues, especially as the governor's clerical status means the state does not have an operational traditional office of the First Lady.
Plateau State has launched a new peace-building initiative aimed at addressing the persistent cycle of communal violence and insecurity that has affected several communities across the state. The Rapid Response for Peace project, implemented by Search for Common Ground in partnership with the Plateau State government, seeks to strengthen early warning systems, enhance rapid response mechanisms, and supports community-led efforts to prevent conflicts before they escalate into violence.
As communities across Nigeria's north-central region continue to grapple with recurring security challenges, stakeholders are exploring new ways to identify and address conflict triggers before they escalate into violence. One such effort is the R2 for Peace project being implemented in Plateau, Benue, Nasarawa and Taraba states to strengthen collaboration among government institutions, civil society organizations, security agencies and local communities. The initiative seeks to improve information sharing, early warning mechanisms, and coordinated responses to emerging threats.
The real success of any peace-building initiative is not what happens during a project, but what remains after the project ends. It is this same approach that guides the project we are discussing today. Rapid response for peace, immediate protection and early warning support to violent affected communities in Benue, Nasarawa, Plateau State and Taraba states.
Representing the Secretary to the State Government, the Director of Cabinet and Special Services, Nathaniel Bwai, commends the organization for its sustained support toward peace-building efforts on the plateau.
Not just a top-down approach, it must be a bottom-up approach, because those that are at the receiving end, are those in the rural communities. and they must be factored in every conversations we're having.
The initiative is partly informed by recent violent incidents across the region and is designed to improve coordination among stakeholders in responding to emerging threats.
The project goal is to reduce the incidence and severity of religious and intergroup violence by creating a strengthened community-based early warning and early response system in Benue, Nasarawa, Plateau, and Taraba states, Nigeria.
Around peace and security is everyone's business, and all stakeholders must be involved, be it women, the youths, and I'll make emphasis on the youth because oftentimes they are usually left behind, and most often than not at the same time, we find out that there is more reference made to women peace and security as against youth peace and security. So we find out that the women peace and security is also overshadowing the YPS based on the UNSCR 2250. So it's important that we actually look at youth as the center of the implementation of this project and their relevance to it.
Stakeholders believe the success of the initiative will depend largely on the willingness of communities, government institutions, and development partners to work together in addressing the underlying drivers of conflict.
The Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency is strategizing to mobilize not less than 5,000 SMEs to the Intra-Africa Trade Fair slated for later this year in Lagos. The Director General of the agency, Mr. Charles Oddy, who made the announcement at a session with owners of small businesses, explains that they will be training them on packaging for the local and international market. He says the intervention is expected to improve both local consumption and export.
For us as said, we need to help you because we have the largest African trade fair, or the EFCC trade fair, coming to Lagos next year. And so from now to next year, we want to start to teach at least 5,000 small businesses to be able to take advantage of that product to sell in Nigeria and even to export.
Commissioning of various infrastructure projects within the FCT continued today under the leadership of the Minister for the FCT, Mr. Nyesom Wike. The latest is the FCT Highway 105 linking the airport and Kuje town, commissioned by Vice President Kashim Shettima. The fully dualized road is now open for public use. Mr. Wike says the project was facilitated under the Renewed Hope agenda to significantly reduce travel time and connect rural areas to the city center.
I did say, how are we going to achieve this? Where will the money come from? It was very difficult, Your Excellency. And then what we did to assure them that this Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration feels for the people, and that's why we have what we call the Renewed Hope agenda. What is Renewed Hope after all? Hopes have been lost. I don't think the people of Kuje ever believe that they will ever interface with government, that they will ever see development come to Kuje. So their hopes were all gone. There was nothing like all hope again. But to the glory of God, with the president and your humble self coming into power, is giving back the Kuje people the hope that they have lost.
Today, we are not just commissioning a road. We are keeping a promise. 3 years ago, we took an oath to serve you. We pledged to end the era of abandoned projects. Today, FCT Highway 105 stands as proof that we keep our word. This project speaks to a larger vision. The Renewed Hope agenda is not just for the city center. True democracy must be felt at the grassroots. It must be felt in Kuje, and the commuter coming from or going to Kuje must feel it. Every Nigerian must feel it.
And that's where we drop the anchor on this edition of Newsroom series. For updates, kindly visit our website at